So will your ex miss you or forget about you? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. And if you stick around until the very end, not only am I going to go into every conceivable worry that you may be having after your breakup with regards to how can I make my ex miss me, or will they miss me, or will they forget about me, or I'm afraid if I do this, this will happen. But you're going to get a clear indication at the end of this video on how you should not only be making them miss you, but also the mechanics of why exes miss you. Like what actually has to occur for them to miss you. So let's tackle the big question, which is time. Oftentimes one of the rallying cries for this industry when it comes to making exes miss you is time. The no contact rule, things of that nature. Basically, hey, step back from your ex and give them time. But that is often the last thing that you personally want to do. There's often this fear mechanism that gets triggered when you decide, I'm going to try a no contact rule, or I'm going to just give them some space. You ultimately get afraid because you sit there thinking, well, what if I stop talking to them? What if they stop caring about me? What if they forget about me? So let's talk about that. Will that happen? Will time make an ex forget about you? Or even will time make an ex miss you? So I started my website empire back in 2012. So it's almost been 10 years since I started. To date, we have had millions of people come to our websites. We've had hundreds of thousands of people commenting on our websites. We have coached personally thousands of people through breakups, and not one time have I ever seen time make an ex forget you. Instead, what we've noticed is time can help make exes miss you, but there is an asterisk I would put next to it. Here's the truth that no one wants to tell you. Time alone is one of the best ways that you can make an ex miss you, but too much time can make an ex stop caring about you. And I want you to note that even in that specific scenario where you spend too much time away from your ex, they're still not going to forget you. Don't worry, if you stick around, you will definitely get an idea of what you should be doing to make an ex miss you, but I would like to talk about how much time is too much time. Simply put, there are reasons for why we have constraints on how long you should be doing a no contact rule. Our version of the no contact rule has 3 specific time frames: a 21-day rule, a 30-day rule, and a 45-day rule. So why don't we ever recommend past a 45-day rule with regards to using a no contact rule on your ex? Simply put, that will be pushing the limits and boundaries of when they'll stop caring. And that's ultimately what we don't want to have happen. Hey there, real quick, I want to say that if you're new to this YouTube channel, or you're trying to figure out what you should be doing to get your ex back, and you're trying to learn if you even have a chance in your specific circumstance, probably the smartest thing for you to do is actually stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, or take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz that can be found at exboyfriendrecovery.com. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, taking that free quiz is super easy to do. All you have to simply do is look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. It will take you directly to the quiz where you can fill it out and get an easy answer on what you should be doing going forward and overall what your chances look like in your specific situation. All right, so let's get you back to the video. So let's switch gears here and talk about exactly what has to occur in order for an ex to miss you. Now, the first thing is pretty obvious. Time needs to go by, but there's a bunch of embedded fears here. Like, for example, what if by giving your ex time, they enjoy life without you? And this is where things get really interesting. We have to kind of dive into psychology to explain why that's usually not the case, and why actually them enjoying themselves without you can be the #1 thing that can help make them miss you. 2 weeks ago, I filmed a video called How to Make an Avoidant Ex Miss You. Some of the things that I talked about there are things that I've never talked about before. Mostly what we're doing is we're looking at people or ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends who have avoidant tendencies and looking at exactly what has to occur for them to miss you. And what we found when we dove into the psychology and the research behind attachment styles and missing was really counterintuitive. For example, We found that people with avoidant attachment styles want connection just like everyone else, but their deepest fear is that love and closeness come at the cost of their own freedom. This is often why your ex will say something along the lines of, I think we're better off alone. They're protecting themselves because they feel like being with you, especially if you have anxious tendencies or you are an anxious attachment style, is going to come at the cost of their own freedom. But what's interesting is, what does it take for that person to reminisce and think back fondly on the relationship? And here's what we found. Avoidants are free to long for an ex once that person is unavailable, out of the relationship, and typically out of contact. So let's break it down. Essentially, what psychology tells us about avoidant exes who you want to miss you isn't going and pestering them, but rather giving them time to process and basically move on. And that's when they feel comfortable enough to look back fondly on the relationship. And this could explain why we're seeing success with our limits on no contact. But it's not the only thing that has to occur for an ex to miss you. Time is important, don't get me wrong. But there's also other confluences of events or strategies or tactics that have to occur while you're giving them space. And perhaps none are more so powerful than the concept of fear of missing out. This is essentially where your ex is going to confront the reality of what life is like without you, and it seems to be a huge indicator of how likely they are to miss you. So let's say you're giving them time. You use a no contact rule, or you're not a believer of the no contact rule, but you just say, hey, I'm going to give them some space. They need to figure things out on their own, but I'm not going to wait around for them. I'm going to just do things that make me happy. And so while your ex is waiting around, they can't help themselves but look on social media to see what you're up to. And they see you doing all of these super cool things, and they grow a little jealous, and they feel like, wow, we were supposed to go to that thing together. Or I'm supposed to be the one there with her. And then they begin to regret. And the thing about regret is often right around the corner from regret comes missing. That's when they begin to actually miss your times together and reminisce in a positive way. So there are actually ways to speed up their process of missing you, but it really relies heavily on the fear of missing out and also on a concept called the peak end rule. I love the concept of the peak end rule. So basically, here's how it works. We've found that human beings are not as good at remembering things in the past as we thought. Oftentimes, we remember events based on two singular points: the peak or the most exciting or intense parts of the experience, or the end of the experience. Right after a breakup, most people are just going to be obsessing about the end of the breakup. How things went bad, what was said at the end. My goodness, are they going to forget me now that the end has occurred? In reality though, what ends up happening is as time goes by, as you allow them to distance themselves from the breakup, that's when they start to remember the peak. That's when they start to reminisce and think these positive things. So when you actually look at the psychology on why doing something like a no contact rule or just giving them space works, it works based on these concepts. It works based on the fact that your ex is probably an avoidant. They avoid their problems. They think it's easier, and in order for an avoidant to truly miss you, they have to feel like there's no chance they can get back together with you, and then they feel comfortable missing with you. And then when they feel comfortable missing with you, that's when they start thinking about those peak experiences. That's when they think about all of the good times that you had together. And that's when they think, I really miss her, or I really miss him. That's where you want your ex to be. That's when they're the most likely to miss you. So, here is my challenge for you. Do not just take my word for it. Do your own research on avoidant exes and how they operate. Do your own research on the peak end rule. Do your own research on the no contact rule. But if you need a place to start, probably the best place to start is figuring out whether you should be trying to get your ex back or not. Whether you should be trying to win them back or simply moving on. Now, luckily on my website, exboyfriendrecovery.com, I've put together a special quiz that's designed to do this exact thing for you. So all you have to do if you want to take this quiz is simply look in the description below this YouTube video and click the link you see there. Other than that, just like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can really get the YouTube algorithm working for us so we can get featured more places. And that's a total selfish desire on my part, but hey, I am going to plug every single video until you like one of my videos. I'm sending good brainwaves for, okay, this is getting ridiculous. Just please like the video. See you next time.